Now we come to the next S, that is S4 for standardize. We need to standardize the procedures which we use for sort, set in order and shine, so that all the people are on the same wavelength and all follow the same process and procedures. So one way of doing that is to have a proper process and make it clear to everyone by putting it up on the notice boards. And then you may have different subcontractors, vendors, different agencies. So we need to make sure that they all come on board on the same wavelength, and we need to also make sure that people may join the site from time to time, so they also come on board in the same way. And frequent audit reports, of course, will tell us how things are going, and we need to take corrective steps based on what we find. So the basic thing is to have a uniform basis on which everyone at the site operate. You have SOPs, standard operating procedures, and there is no point in only making them. We need to make sure that everyone is aware of these SOPs, they read them and then appropriately follow them. So the procedures, by which we do the first three S's, they need to be standardized. Otherwise, somebody may think something is useful, somebody may think it is not useful. So how do we determine the first S, the sort process? What is useful in the near future, middle future, distant future, not required at all, and so on. How do we set in order? How do we shine? So all these have to be properly reviewed and written down, and everybody has to have the same understanding of all these. Have plenty of charts. I always, when I go to a project manager's office, I first look around to see what kind of charts he uses. For example, your progress or your invoicing or the directions to the staff. Similarly, the practice of 5S again has to be appropriately advertised, put up on the notice boards, and then the various charts have to show what is being done, what has been done well, what needs to be improved, and so on. And then the SOPs have to show exactly how things ought to be done for the 3 S's, and there have to be clear instructions. And even the people who come from outside, for example, your suppliers or vendors, they also need to know what your SOPs are. Many good sites I have seen, when somebody comes from outside into the site, he is asked to wear properly, for example, your site boots. You don't bring in whatever you have from the outside, and then you need to check in, you need to tell who you are, where you want to go, and then you are told clearly how to reach the place where you want to go. And some important projects, the entry to various areas is restricted. For example, a man who wants to supply rebars, he doesn't have to go to the work areas, he only needs to go to the stores. So how do we restrict entries of people to designated areas? So all these actually have to be seen properly, and there have to be proper checklist for all the routine tasks. And then when you're keeping the things back in the stores or in the workplace, there is a technique called pokayoki, what is called mistake proofing. That means, when you want to put a tool, it can be put only in that place in a particular way. It cannot be done in any other manner. For example, you enter a room, there are two doors, the entry door and the exit doors. The entry door will only work inwards. From inside, you can't open that door to go out. You have to go only by the outdoor. That kind of thing, you can use for what is called mistake proofing. Pokayoki is a very important tool of Lean, and that goes along with your S4. So make sure that things are done in one particular way and not in haphazard ways. And next S we come to S5, that is sustain or self-discipline. Literally it can mean that do without being told. See, ultimately Lean, is not an assembly of tools. It's a matter of culture which we need to develop over a long period. And the Lean culture is what is sustainable in the long run. Similarly, for 5S, unless the 5th S, the sustain part is taken care of properly, it won't be running in the long run, it won't be sustainable. So every person at the site actually is a 5S promoter. I always maintain safety and quality. Every person at the site is a safety person, every person at the site is a quality person. Similarly, we need to inculcate the belief that every person at the site is also a 5S person. He needs to know, remove the unwanted materials, keep the required ones in the right place, and keep it properly cleaned and shone. And then, we need to have proper standard procedures, and then make sure it is sustainable in the long run. So, one important aspect is, as in every other matter, top management involvement. So, when we start 5S, there has to be a clear-cut announcement from the top management that 5S has to be practiced in that particular site. Everyone has to know and everyone has to comply. And the project manager has to periodically, repeat that kind of thing and make sure that people are all aligned properly and they do practice 5S as a matter of routine. And you may have a great launch, like have a big show, a big jamboree, so that people have started 5S in this site, and then you put up a number of signboards that this is a 5S site. Make it difficult to go back. Make it such a big affair that people take pride in having come to a 5S site, and they should not slide back into the old ways of not doing work properly. And develop simple systems. In one site, for example, we told the labor, when you go for lunch or when you go at the end of the day, after the shift is over, just pick up something which you don't require, some scrap item. When you go out, where you punch out your card, there will be 3 or 4 bins kept with clear-cut directions: useful, not useful, required, repairs, needs repair, and so on. And the labor gets so much trained that they will put the materials in the right bins. Scrap goes in the scrap bin, repair items go in the repair bin, and so on. So, and after some time, the labor take pride in doing that, and nobody wants to leave the site without carrying a particular item in his hand. That becomes a matter of habit, becomes a matter of self-discipline, and they all take pleasure in doing that. And then you can have something called Kaizen. Kaizen stands for continuous improvement in Japanese. So, in every monthly meeting, we can ask, the people, what have you done new? What have you done better in this month? And people come and share, whatever they have done. And we can even have competitions between various sections and give awards for the best section, how they have been doing that. So, it's a matter of applying your ingenuity and innovativeness on how to make it sustainable, how to make it go in autopilot mode in the long run. And to get everybody on board, you can have newsletters. It need not be a formal newsletter, printed and circulated. It can be just something mounted on the wall or the notice board, written by hand or typewritten or printed. Anyway, but the basic idea is all the people at the site know that the top management is keen on lean, is keen on 5S. That message has to go very clearly across the board, and everybody has to come on board. And like I said, you could have competitions, periodic scoring, and keep on doing it in such a way that becomes a culture, a way of life. Once it becomes a way of life, what happens? You don't need to be told, you don't need to remember, you just do it. So 5S has to come to such a stage that the people in the site just do it. And like I said in the beginning, when you walk into a site, you always know that it's a 5S site. It's well cleaned up, well maintained, and very, very, very orderly also. You have a lot of signboards, you have greenery, and everything is in the right place where it needs to belong. So basically, having done all this, you need to have regular audits, and the standardization part comes in here, that the audit scores have to be objective, they cannot be subjective. So you may have different people going and auditing, the 5S part. So we need to have an SOP. How do you determine whether something is being done properly or not? So for example, shine. Shine means what? To what degree a thing has to be clean? Sort means what? What kind of items are allowed to remain at the site? What kind of items are not allowed to remain at the site? So we give scores, and then we compare. We ask the people, are you happy with the score which you got? Come back, refine that. So ultimately, the SOP becomes a document which is well understood, well practiced in the long run. And ultimately, it's all a matter of leadership. We need to keep reinforcing, we need to keep demonstrating leadership, ultimately till it becomes a matter of habit. And once it becomes a matter of practice like this, maybe after about 3 to 6 months time, we can get a major audit done, preferably by somebody from outside the site. And there, we have a very precise questionnaire. Like I said, we need to have standard method of understanding what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. For example, sort, the cleanliness criteria. Do you have tools lying around, any waste on the ground, or is trash segregated and taken out as quickly as possible? And shuttering material, something I have seen, they should never be allowed to lie on the ground once you have removed it from the structure. It immediately has to go to the yard, get properly cleaned up, and then return back to the site. So we make a questionnaire which is standard, well understood, get somebody from outside the site to come and do an audit, and then you understand what has been done properly, what has not been done properly, and then keep on improving all that. So the basic thing is that everybody understands at the site what has to be done and where do the things, materials go, and in what quantities and so on. And wherever something is not being done properly, for example, a lower audit score, we need to go into the root cause. There is a procedure in Lean called 5 whys. So whenever something is not okay, not acceptable, we need to ask why 5 times. Many times, the first answer you get, or the answer, the obvious kind of thing, may not be the real reason, the deep reason. If somebody says, no, sir, the person is not available. Why? The person is on leave. Why? He is not been performing well. Why? He has not been told like that. There may be a number of reasons. So keep asking why 5 times till you get to the root cause, till you really reach into the reason why something is not being done properly, and remedy that. If you look at only the ostensible cause, the apparent cause, and remedy that, the things may not improve in the long run. You may do something in the short run, and then it will again slide back to the way it was earlier. So ask why 5 times, go to the root cause, remedy that, and then make sure that the things going well and sustainable in the long run. So if you do all these and make sure they are going in, like autopilot mode with a proper lean culture, a proper 5S culture, then we are there. Otherwise, we need to improve. Thank you.